There's no turning back, Nightlings. Welcome to episode 22 of the Horror Headquarters. Now, you guys have been recommending to me so many different types of horror movies, and I've been looking through them all and adding them to my list on all the different streaming services, because that's where you watch horror movies now. They don't just pop up on TV normally. But there's one that you guys have been constantly reminding me to watch, and that's Barbarian. So this weekend, I decided to finally watch it and give it a try. So this episode will be exclusively for all things Barbarian. You guys will hear all my thoughts, all my crazy thoughts, everything that I've experienced throughout the whole movie, all that jazz. And it's a lot. So sit back, relax, and get ready. Midnight hour has arrived. Barbarian is a horror/mystery film that was released on September 9th, 2022 and had a box office total of $45.4 million on a budget of only $4 million. Barbarian was directed by Zach Kreger and has an all-star cast including Bill Skarsgård, Justin Long, and Georgina Campbell. Now, a fun fact about this film that I definitely want to bring up right now is that this film was rejected by so many different financiers and distributors because they weren't interested in the film, and this includes A24 and Neon. And it just kind of makes me upset because this is sadly how the industry works. They did the same thing with a bunch of other films such as Frozen. You'd be surprised that Disney denied this movie multiple times, and yet it's one of the biggest movies of all time for Disney specifically, and for worldwide. It has made so much money as an animated film. But in the end, 20th Century Studios finally took up the movie, and they got 10 times back the budget that they initially put in. Like I said, the budget was $4 million. They made $45.4 million from this movie, and of course it's still making money from being on streaming services today. And this weekend, I finally pulled the plug, put on the film, sat down, and watched this. From beginning to end, no stops. And it was a roller coaster. Now, I went into this movie only expecting the man to be evil. The one that played Keith, who is Bill Skarsgård, who plays Pennywise in It. I thought he was going to be the bad person. I thought, like, okay, these people are sharing an Airbnb. He's going to do something bad, and just something's not going to go right. And the whole time, like, when he's, like, acting up and he's, like, being very eccentric, and he's like, I know there's a lot of bad people out there. I'm trying not to do like that. That's why I'm waiting for you to come here and do this. He talks a lot and he like wouldn't stop, and I'm like, okay, this guy's psychotic, this guy's crazy, 100% he's gonna do something really bad. And the story just kept carrying on, and I found the bed scene really cute, like when they were like putting the sheets on like the covers and everything. It was so funny, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so cute. I'm like, is this gonna be like a romantic horror? Like, this is actually pretty cool. And like then he has like the whole wine thing where they like spill their lives out to each other, which I thought was also very cute and sweet. This is definitely one of my favorite parts, if not my favorite part in the entire film, was the beginning. It was just really cool, done very well. The acting was superb. Like, that acting, I'm like, okay, that's exactly how I would have reacted, but I would have left. I personally, like, if I went to an Airbnb and someone else was there, I'm not going inside. I'll just go in my car and like freaking sleep in a lot. I don't care. I'm not sleeping in a house with a complete stranger where they'll kill me and murder me. Nope, no thank you. I will pass. Now, everything took a turn when that night scene happened. I was purely terrified when the night came and the door of the girl's room opened by itself because she ended up staying because she's crazy. But like the door opened and then all you hear is this high pitched screech, and her eyes open and she like looks up, and the the guy Keith is having a full blown nightmare and he's sleeping, and it's like so funny. He's like moving around, making all these noises, and he's like, help me. He's like all these things. It was like really hysterical. I'm like, oh god, he's crazy, he's psychotic, there's something wrong with him. Oh god, just leave. And it was like really funny. And like she woke him up and he got really scared. He like got he scared the shit out of me. I was laughing the whole time. I thought that was like just such like a genuine moment, I'm like, okay, that's funny. I'm like, all right, he's trying to put it off like he's not doing anything wrong, but we'll see what happens. And of course, she eventually went to sleep, and then movie carried on, and then there was the whole basement scene. The basement scene was not it. It was not it. This girl is psychotic. She's crazy to have like pulled that rope and like found all those different rooms. If I find all those rooms, I'm leaving. I don't care what anyone says. I'm out the door, leaving, getting in my car. Bye bye. I don't care. I don't care at all what you have to say. Because she was like listening to Keith, because Keith was like, let me just go down and look, please, so that the door doesn't lock on me, and then you can leave. Like, I would have been like, prop it open with the chair, bye, and walked out. Nope. And she's stupid to have waited, and like she like started calling to him like Keith, and he wasn't answering. I'm like, okay, he's gonna kill her. He's gonna jump out, stab her, abduct her, close the door on her in one of these rooms, and do some weird shit. But nope, he started like screaming help and everything from like a completely different room that like it's like a freaking cave. She like went down, and then we meet this creature, this really, really disturbing creature. She goes by the name the Mother, but like the reason we come across her is because Tess ends up finding Keith. Tess and Keith are the ones that are sharing their Airbnb, and she ends up finding him, and he's like, "Stop! You have to lower your voice and stop because there's someone down here. Something just bit me. I don't know what's going on. We have to go this way." And she's like, "No, that's deeper. Like we have to get out. What are you talking about?" Like they're arguing and arguing and arguing and arguing, and then the mother comes, smashes Keith's head into the wall like 500 million times, and then lets out a loud scream. And then cut. And then we're at a beach. We go from that to a beach scene. And there's this guy singing in his car, like freaking karaoke. And I'm like, okay, wait, is this a commercial? I fully thought that it was a commercial that I was watching. I'm like, okay, this is a commercial. Like, this is stupid. Then I'm like, wait, this is part of the movie? I'm like, wait, is this the right movie? I'm like, did I click the right movie? I like started like second guessing myself. I'm like, okay, what the hell does this have to do with the movie? Like, what does this have to do with what just happened? Why are we at a beach now? Like, that made no sense to me. Then, thankfully, it ended up making sense because it's that guy that was in karaoke that owns the Airbnb that the people were staying in and all that. And like long story short, he finds out that like he's kicked out of a pilot because he's accused of sexually assaulting a girl on set, and he goes to the Michigan house to stay. And then he finds all the luggage, all the clothing, everything, the whole shebang, and freaks out and starts to investigate. Yeah, bad idea. Now, I personally love this character who's played by Justin Long. I think his name's AJ, but it was hysterical when he was measuring the house because like he like discovered the basement and like how big it was, so he started measuring it, and he like found all these extra rooms that were in the basement, and he's like, oh great, more space to add to the listing because he's listing the property and he needs money. And he took a ruler with him and he was measuring every single area he could find. He's like remembering everything he said, and then he finds like the freaking door that like goes downwards and it's like a freaking cave. Starts measuring that, and I'm like, okay, there's no way he's still gonna keep measuring this. He doesn't stop. He sees like there's like cages in the basement that are like creepy as hell, and decides to measure the room that they're in and everything, and then he hears a sound, and then he's introduced to the other mother. And long story short, let's just say his story came to a very disgusting end and a very horrific end, but he deserved every ounce of it because he is the biggest A word in the world. He's very self-centered. It's just bad, and he deserved everything. I don't care. He was so rude, so disrespectful, and he only cared about himself. And that ended up being his downfall in the end, which I'm happy that something bad happened to him. I'm not going to spoil it as much as I want to, but if you haven't watched the movie, definitely go watch it, give it a listen. I said give it a listen. Give it a listen and a watch. I say give it a listen because there were some very, very gory scenes in this film, and it was a lot. And I remember watching it and immediately coming up here and recording like 20 minutes of content, but I'm not going to upload it. And I'm going to save it for maybe later, maybe whenever this podcast blows up, or I'll post it as a bonus episode. I'm not sure. But I have it already in like my podcasting website. It's literally called Barbarian Uncensored because it was an immediate reaction to the movie, to the film. I hadn't had a chance to like soak everything in, so I barely remember what I even said. But I'm just gonna put this out there right now. This is a movie I am not going to be rewatching, and here's why. Now, as I said before, this film was very gory, but it was a type of gore and violence that I personally don't like, and it is not my cup of tea. And that's the best way I can put it. And when I say it was a roller coaster, I mean things came out of nowhere that I didn't think were gonna happen. You know, when you're on a roller coaster and suddenly there's like this big drop and you feel like your heart is gonna come out of your mouth? That was me throughout this entire film because it was all over the place. There was a lot of flashbacks and everything, and I'm like, nope, this isn't for me. And it was so nasty. I'm sorry, but it was so disgusting and it was just a lot. It was a lot. It wasn't my type of gore. That's just my personal preference. I didn't hate the movie. I just won't watch it again. I think it was very, very well done for the budget that they had and how much they made. I think it was genius, and I think it has a lot of good ideas behind it, a lot of good messages. But it kind of upsets me that they filmed this in Detroit, because the more people continue to glorify Detroit in this particular way, in like a bad sense, the more that people are going to continue to fear this city when it's actually very, very gorgeous right now. They've redone a lot. They're like planning on taking down all the houses that are old, they're breaking them down, building new houses, changing the economy. They're doing a lot, and they've made a lot of great progress over the last like 10-20 years. And I'm not just saying that because I grew up here, and it is a lot different than what you guys might see on TV. Now, of course, granted, there are areas that still are very bad and dangerous, but Detroit, like downtown Detroit, is absolutely gorgeous, and it's filled with so many different people. It has all these different restaurants and places you can go to, and it's very fun. They have a lot of cool places. The architecture is amazing, though. That's something else I have to highlight. The architecture in Detroit is probably some of my favorite because it's very vintage, very old. A lot of it is gothic, which I love. So don't be fooled by these movies or by any articles or people that say Detroit is so dangerous and horrible and nasty and disgusting and filled with really bad things. It's not all that. People just refuse to talk about the positives because they want people to stay away. So that's one thing I disliked about this movie. I don't know if it's considered a dislike, but it just rubbed me the wrong way because they're just glorifying how bad Detroit is apparently to them. So I took that with a grain of salt as much as I could. Something else I really disliked about this movie was the jumps. As I said in the beginning, I hate how much it jumped from like back and forth and back and forth, and like that beach scene that I thought was commercial. It just caught me off guard in a weird way. I mean, I'm trying to enjoy the idea behind it, like trying to make a lighter sense to the movie. I think that's why they incorporated that, trying to add some humor to it, which it worked, but it just was so nasty. I just have to keep saying that because it was disgusting. There's another fun fact that I wanted to tell you guys. Did you know that Zac Efron initially auditioned for this role and he turned it down, and then it was given to Justin Long, who played AJ, who played the guy that sexually assaulted someone on like a set, and he was like kicked off a co-pilot. Hence why he was in Detroit, to make money and everything and to stay over there because he is broke. So that was an interesting fact. Another interesting fact is that the person that played the mother was actually a man, and he like undergone all this different prosthetics and makeup, and it was a really crazy experience, and he kind of went in not knowing what to expect, but he was like surprised in the end. Like, if you've watched the film, the prosthetics are insane. Like, it's so crazy and weird. I'm like, oh my god. It just scared me every time I saw the mother come on screen because it was horrid, horrid, horrid. But with all that aside, I think it was a great movie. A lot of hidden messages. A lot of hidden messages. For example, there's like this type of thing that hangs from Tessa's like car rear view window, and it's a snake, and a snake represents life and death, and there's a lot of that in this film. So I just found it all really interesting. I don't think I'd watch it again. Like, I want to like look at the Easter eggs, but I will pass. I will definitely pass as of now, but who knows what might happen in the future. My overall rating of this film is like a 7 out of 10 because, like I said, this is just based on personal preference. Like all my reviews are. The gore, the gore and the violence was just so disgusting. It was a lot. It was so nasty. I just didn't like it. I didn't enjoy that part. That part of the movie just turned me off big time. But like I said, other than that, great film. I recommend to anyone that likes that kind of horror, that likes gore and violence. But it is in no way a psychological horror or what I was expecting it to be. I was completely caught off guard because, like I said, I thought it was just gonna be two characters and the guy's a psycho and he tries killing the girl. Nope. Oh, how wrong I was. Oh, how wrong I was. Nevertheless, good movie. 7 out of 10. Alright, now it's time to go over the poll results from the previous episode. The question was, do you believe in the Lady in Black? And first place was tied between yes and I do now. So I'm happy that I convinced some of you guys that she's real. But second place was nah. Third place was tied between still unsure, not at all, and other. And the questions and responses that you guys left in the Q&A are, I think she's real, but the story may be fabricated a bit. Possibly, I can see that. And then someone else said, I'm very interested to hear about your thoughts on tarot cards. Maybe an episode on that and the history would be cool. Thank you for that. That's actually very interesting because I've been recently getting into tarot cards for like quite some time now, but I don't have my own set yet because I'm waiting for one to speak to me, if that makes sense at all. But thank you guys for your responses. Thank you guys for participating in the poll. And as always, there is one under this episode as well as a Q&A for you guys to drop any horror movie recommendations, thoughts on this episode, thoughts on Barbarian, if you've watched it, if you enjoyed it, if you are planning on watching it, anything at all. Let me know below. We have reached the end of episode 22 of the Horror Headquarters Nightlings. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, for listening to my thoughts on this insane film. Let me know if you guys are interested in the uncensored version because I am looking at it right now as I'm recording this episode, and it says 18 minutes and 59 seconds of me just going off on this movie. I literally don't remember what I said. I feel like I was like insane when I was saying all this stuff, but a lot of it is very true, and it's kind of similar to how I view this movie right now because, like I said, I would not watch it again, and I said this all in a very calm and relaxed manner. When I recorded it after watching the movie, it was nothing like that. So if you guys are interested in it, drop it in the Q&A below or message me. And make sure to follow us on the Horror HQ on Twitter, at the Horror Headquarters on Instagram, and on TikTok. And make sure to subscribe to our newsletter that is on our link fire on Instagram and is also linked below under this episode. Because if you sign up for this newsletter, you guys get exclusive stuff, details about upcoming episodes, about upcoming things coming up for the Horror Headquarters podcast, sneak peeks, Easter eggs, all that kind of stuff. And if you actually did sign up for the newsletter, you guys would have received a very special email. So if you guys want that very special email, make sure to sign up. It's all down below in the description, everything you guys need. And you guys can also listen to episodes on the website. If this is your first time listening, let me know what you guys thought of the episode, and please hit that follow button on whatever you guys are listening to us on right now, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Castbox, whatever it may be. Please hit that follow button and rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, because those are the only two that I believe you can rate on, but I think you can rate on Castbox as well. So I would really appreciate it. Spreading the word on this podcast, it really means the world to me. I am so grateful for all you guys listening and just being here. I love doing this. This is my favorite thing to do. This is keeping me going in life, if I'm being honest. But enough of me getting all soppy story like. I'm going to wrap it up there. But until next time, tread very lightly and pray for forgiveness. Midnight hour is approaching.